Take a look at this map. It's from the early 1900s and it shows the United Kingdom, England, Wales, Scotland and Ireland. See, back then, the whole of Ireland was part of the United Kingdom and had been for the last 100 years. But this was soon to change. In the 1918 election, a new party rose to power in Ireland. Sinn Féin was their name. Despite never before contesting an election, they won 73 of Ireland's 105 seats. And they weren't happy with Britain, who they saw as a foreign colonial government legislating for Ireland. They wanted to establish Ireland as a republic outside the United Kingdom. After coming to power, war soon broke out. The Irish Republican Army against the British. And by 1921, the war was over, and most of Ireland became a self-governing dominion, no longer part of the UK. But what was the reason behind Sinn Féin's dramatic rise, the precursor to Ireland gaining independence? How had this obscure party risen so quickly? Look at this. It shows the size of the Irish electorate between 1895 and 1910. Then, around 700,000 could vote in Ireland, each year broadly the same. But in the 1918 election, there's a change. The number of eligible voters just about triples. See, in 1918, near the end of World War I, all men over 21 and most women over 30 were granted the right to vote. After the contribution of both men and women in the war, and the strong campaigning of the women's suffrage movement, it seemed only fair. So, in 1918, nearly 2 million Irish could go to the polls, many more than had done in the years before. But remember what also happened this election? The little-known Sinn Féin party rocketed to power. Was the massive expansion of voters the reason behind their success? A group of economists wanted to find out.
So we wanted to try and understand the factors that could explain the Sinn Féin victory, but in particular we wanted to focus on the changes in voting rights that took place and whether these changes in voting rights had any impact on the Sinn Féin victory.
That's economist Enda Bromhead, and he, along with his co-authors, wanted to know the real reason Sinn Féin won in 1918. They developed two possible hypotheses. First, the straightforward option that Sinn Féin won because of all these new voters who chose to support this new Republican Party. But the economists also considered an alternative explanation, that the electorate decided to switch their votes towards Sinn Féin. But how did they actually go about finding which was correct?
We had about 100 constituencies across Ireland, and we needed information on all the different aspects of that constituency. So we had to then match those data to information from the 1911 census and from information on newly enfranchised voters from British parliamentary papers.
So what did they actually find? These charts start to explain the picture. This first one looks at all the constituencies in Ireland, represented by these dots. The further to the right, the greater the share of new female voters. The higher up, the greater the vote for Sinn Féin in that area. If the new female electorate voted more for Sinn Féin, we expect the correlation to look something like this. But it's more like this. The greater the number of female electors, the less the vote for Sinn Féin.
Quite a strong correlation that we can see in the data, that where there were more female electors, Sinn Féin did worse.
The second chart is similar, but looks at the number of new male voters. Here, the pattern does work in the correct way. The greater the share of new male voters, the greater the vote for Sinn Féin. But this correlation is weak. We can't really take much from this trend. In fact, both these relationships are statistically insignificant. Overall, it wasn't looking likely that new voters in 1918 actually voted for Sinn Féin any more than average. So, the economists could disprove their first hypothesis. The millions of new voters was not the reason for Sinn Féin's success.
It was more likely to have been a change in people's opinions rather than a change as a result of changes in voting rights. And the factors such as the 1916 Rising and the conscription crisis in 1918 then take on more importance, and understanding why that shift happened becomes more important.
It's tempting to jump to easy conclusions that Sinn Féin won in 1918 because of the expansion of the vote, but as this example shows, we cannot jump to conclusions. Instead, economics teaches us to analyse the data and see what it has to say. Thank you to Enda Bromhead for his support as part of this project. Please watch further videos in our series delivered by Discover Economics, Cage Research Centre and the Centre for Economics, Policy and History. Please visit our website and follow us on social media.